Hey everyone, welcome to the Path of Me. This is Wendy Hutchinson talking today about releasing the story. This topic is so important because as we go through life, we create a narrative and story about who we are based on our external situations and circumstances. We create a story about being the smart one, or the athletic one, or the good girl or the bad girl, the black sheep, the perfect person, daughter, sister, friend, whatever the narrative is over time through our socialization, through our culture, through our religion, through our friendships and social circles, through our financial status. We create a story around who we are. And the important thing about this is we're not our story, but we convince ourselves that we have to live up to this story. We have to be who we think we need to be. And we forget to really dial in and tap into our inner power, our inner knowing, and our inner being because it gets lost and buried in a lifetime of stories that we tell. So I wanted to ask you to reflect on what your story is. What is your story? What does it say about you? How are you living your life to align with a story that maybe isn't true to who you really are? And it's kind of a thought-provoking question, right? For me, my story was I needed to be perfect. I needed to be successful. Not in my eyes, but in everyone else's eyes. And those two things drove me mercilessly. They drove me to exhaustion. They drove me to people pleasing. I would say yes to everything. Do you need a volunteer? I would say yes. Do you need me to drive carpool? I would say yes. Do you need me to cook 3 dozen cookies for an event at school? Of course I can. But often that is not aligned with our true selves and true nature, and it's also not realistic. So what we end up becoming is resentful, burned out, and feeling really empty inside because we're trying so hard to be who everybody needs us to be and to let the story define us and live up to that story. And it's impossible because that's not who we are, right? And so, something that is really important to me and has been on this journey is to really figure out who I am separate from the story. Who am I authentically? What are my true values? What are my important value adds as an authentic person to a friendship, to my work, to my parenting, to my relationship? And how can I become better at that? How can I become more embodied within myself and my authenticity in how I'm showing up versus hustling and chasing this story and idea of who I should be and who everyone wants me to be? And it takes so much work because you have to really peel that story off of you and you really have to separate your ego and tame your ego to accept yourself in all your beauty and glory and authenticity. And it takes time, it takes awareness, it takes self love, it takes a lot of unpacking of all the social programming and conditioning that we've been exposed to our whole lives, right? And a lot of times we can feel that something's not working. We can feel burned out. We can feel angry. We could feel tired. We could feel unappreciated or unseen. Because when we tend to be people pleasing or we tend to be living up to an expectation someone else has of us, they don't acknowledge it. they don't care. They're not going to validate you. They're not going to acknowledge who you are after you're killing yourself to be the person they need you to be. They're not, because they're absorbed in their own lives. And their expectation is just that you meet their expectation, right? And then if you meet their expectation, they're just going to continue to raise the bar or continue to expect you to meet other expectations. It's kind of like a hamster wheel that you can't get off of. So my point of this share today is really to get you to dial in and think about your behaviors, what's driving you, and how you can return back to your authentic self and really start to dial into what's important to you, what your values are. Who are you really as a person? What lights you up? What would give you fulfillment instead of exhaustion and resentment? And if you can really dial into that and get curious and even begin to take a baby step back to yourself, you'll find that you will slowly be filling your cup instead of depleting and draining your cup and having nothing left to give. So if you can take an inventory of your life and say, gosh, what do I really love? I really love walking the lake with a friend. Then do more of it. I really love having coffee and just talking. I really love traveling. I really love snuggling with my kids and not having to work 24/7 and be on my laptop, you know? So much of our life is about conscious choice. So much of our life is about choosing ourselves and what is aligned and what is lifting us and, you know, opening our heart and filling our bank and filling our cup with love and joy and happiness and creativity, you know? So think about it and don't be brokenhearted if you see yourself living the pattern that I described earlier. I did it myself, but I am proof that you can find your way back to yourself. I wrote a book. It's called Finding the Path of Me. You can Google that and find it on Barnes and Noble online, Amazon online, just many different platforms. Um, and yeah, I think the first step is really awareness, right? So take inventory, do it with kindness and compassion towards yourself, not judgment. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. It's always wonderful to connect with you, and thank you for tuning in. I love y'all. Bye.